In this video, we'll add a mothership as an enemy in our game. It will drop bombs towards our player in an attempt to damage them. So, let's begin. To get started, we're going to need 3 new sprites for our game. So let's upload these sprites, and we'll find these sprites in the royalty-free game art spaceship from Unlucky Studio package. If you already downloaded this file, you don't need to re-download it, but for those who haven't, the link is in the description for this file. So we'll find the first 2 sprites in the red file, and we'll just download the mothership and the space bomb. So these are the first 2 sprites we need. And then if we re-upload another sprite, the next sprite is found in an effects and the red explosion. So just choose one for now. So just as we did our blue explosion, we're going to rename this red explosion, and we can rename this to the mothership. We can call this enemy mothership and call this enemy space bomb. So first things first, let's make this explosion work as soon as a clone is created for it. So let's get that done first. So if we go to the red explosion and go to costumes, we'll just add the other costumes for our red explosion. So just select the rest of these and click OK. Okay, now that we have all the sprites and costumes for this red explosion, we can start with the code of it. So to get started, we'll need the control and select the when I start as clone block. We'll select it once and then go to events and select the when I receive start game. And when I receive start game, we want to hide the sprite, but we'll show it when it starts as a clone. And then we'll switch the costume to the first one, and then go to the explosion X and explosion Y position. So we can go to variables and bring in the explosion X and explosion Y. And then we'll go to control and select repeat 16, and then go to operators, select the plus operator and select the looks operator, and we'll select switch costume to costume number +1. Basically the same thing we've done for our blue explosion. And then we'd wait a little bit of second before we delete the clone so that we can see the last costume. So we'd wait 0.1 seconds. And if we just test this, we can see that the explosions are now working. Next, we need to write the script for our enemy mothership. So as right now, this enemy mothership is too big, so we resize the enemy mothership and space bomb to 35, and we'll move our mothership to the top center and our bomb right here. So let's start with the enemy mothership. We want our enemy mothership to drop bombs towards our player or wherever it's currently sitting. So what we first start off is by calling an event. So we'll create a brand new event. So we'll just bring the when I receive block and create a new event and call this spawn mothership. And then we can click on OK. And after that, we'd want to create another variable called mothership spawn to see if we want to spawn this mothership. So we say we can call this should spawn mothership. Click OK, and we look if spawn mothership equals to true. So we can go to control and say if spawn mothership equals to true, then we'd wait a random amount of seconds. So we go to control and wait 3 to 5 seconds. and after we've waited this amount of time, we'll create a clone of the mothership. And now what happens when you create a clone? Well, we'll start as a clone, but let me explain this part. So the reason we say should spawn a mothership is when we're creating the levels, we would need this variable so that we don't spawn more than one mothership. Right after we set it to true, we'll set it to false once the first mothership has spawned. So that's why we're first looking if this is true. So now let's start with the script for when the mothership creates a clone of itself. So we're going to need another variable, and we'll call this mothership health. And this is going to be the variable holding the health of our mothership. Let's disable these two and set mothership health to 5 when I start as clone. So each mothership will start with a health of 5. So they'll be able to take 5 bullets, and then we show it. And we can hide this original one just by clicking on the block here. And then we want it to start off in the middle of the screen, but at the top. So we'll have it middle in terms of horizontally, but on the Y axis up and down, we want it to be at 200. So we want it to be not seeable by our player, and then we would have it come around here to the top. And the way we're going to make it come to the top is by using glide. And what glide does is, if I click show, we can see that the mothership glides to the specified position. So if we use glide to make it move to 1 to 5, this is going to be the position our mothership starts at. Let's move X to 0. So this is how our mothership is going to start. Now we want it moving left and right. So if we go to control and select the forever loop and bring a repeat until statement, we bring 2 of them and put them in this forever loop. We want to change X by 3 or -3 depending on which position we're in. So we say change X by 3 or -3. So we put -3 at the bottom and 3 at the first repeat until statement, and then bring 2 operators, a greater than and a less than, and use the X position, place them here, and then we say if our X position, as long as it's greater, repeat changing the X by 3 until our X position is greater than 180. And then we would move on to changing it by -3. So we move it left until we reach about here, then we start moving right since we've reached -180. Now we have the movement set up, but we want the bombs to start spawning. So we'll go to control and select the when I start as clone block, and make sure to bring the forever loop, and we'll wait a random amount of seconds once again. So we would pick from 3 to 5. You can make this higher or smaller if you want to make the difficulty different, and we'll set a brand new variable. We're going to call this mothership X, and we'll set the mothership X to equal to X position of this current mothership. And now we can create a clone of the enemy bomb. And now we need to look if we've been touched by any of the bullets. So we'll bring another when I start as clone and look if we touch a bullet, but we look for this forever. Then we want to change the mothership health by -1, just decrease it by 1. So we say mothership health by -1, and we can just disable this mothership X variable, and we would wait 0.5 seconds so that it doesn't decrease too much health. Now that we've waited this, we want to look if our mothership equals to 0 so we can make an effect of it exploding. So we go to the if statement and put it on top of the change but under the 0.5 seconds, And then we say if, bring the equals operator, and say if the mothership health equals to 0, then we want to stop the other scripts. We want to stop spawning bombs, we want to stop moving, and yeah, that's what we want to stop doing. So we'll bring the stop block, but then just say stop other scripts in the sprite. And then we're going to create a little of an explosion effect, but first we're going to have it get bright. And the way what we're going to use to do this is the change brightness effect. So we'll just change brightness by 5, but we first repeat this 5 times. So we go to events or control and repeat 5 times. Let's put this right here, and we change brightness by 5. But we can't do this too quickly, so we'll wait 0.1 seconds and then change the X by 3. So after that we can duplicate and do this again, but instead change X by -3. And once we've done this, we can then set the explosion to the current position of the mothership. So we set explosion X and explosion Y to the X and Y position of our mothership. So we put this right under the if statement. Now we create a clone of the red explosion. So we do this right here in control, create a clone of red explosion, and then we set the clone to delete itself. Okay, move this under here and bring the weight 0.5 under this if statement, and then delete the clone. But we're going to create one last variable for this mothership, and we're going to call this motherships destroyed. And in the backdrop we'll set motherships destroyed to 0 when the game starts, but in the enemy we'll change the motherships destroyed by -1 after we've exploded this. So now everything is working except our enemy bomb, because once we start creating clones, the enemy bombs don't actually do anything. So let's go to the looks and hide this original one, and then show it when I start this clone. And after we show it, we want to use motion and then go to the mothership X position, which we've already set up in the enemy mothership, and then would have it starting at 1 to 5, since we know the mothership would be at this Y position already. And then we needed to glide downwards. So go to motion and select the glide to 0.5, and since we already know the mothership X position, we can set it to the current X position since that's where we are. And then we want it to glide to -120, the position of our player. -120, that's the Y position. And then we can go to enemy mothership, and then we can grab this block of script and move it to the enemy spawner and put it right under here. And just to see how this, okay, show, and then so there we go. And then we can select when I receive start game, go to looks and clear the graphic settings and hide the original sprite. And now we can go to the enemy spike and then just look. If we touch the player, we say when I start as clone, forever look if we're touching the player Then we can just stop the other scripts. So we go to events and stop the other script. So we'll stop falling, and then we'll set the X and Y position. So we can just copy this spot and make sure to remove the motherships destroyed. That's very important. So remove the mothership destroyed, since the enemy spawner is, the enemy space bombs aren't 100% related in terms of the motherships being destroyed. And now the last thing we need is to update our bullet and our player. So we go to the operators and select the OR block and say if we're touching any of this, but we can also end up touching the mothership. So we don't want to go through it, so we just bring this and make it part of the conditions of things that can be touched. We can go to player, and to change our health, instead of just touching this, we also want to look if we're touching the explosion. So we will not look if we're touching the enemy space spawner, but since it does bring an explosion, we can look if we're touching the explosion. So we say, or if the player is touching the red explosion, then we'll also lose health. So that should be everything. So to spawn our enemy mothership, we need to go to backdrops, and then we say when I receive start game, we'll set the mothership, should spawn mothership to true, and then broadcast spawn mothership. So we can go to variables, disable this full screen, and see how our mothership works, but the original one is still showing. So let's see, we'll say when I receive start game, hide. Okay, now we can have the score of our asteroid still, and then we can beam, but we want to see if the bombs are coming. Okay, boom. Now if we touch this, we would explode as well. So the player shouldn't get too close, but there is one bug that we have. We can shoot while the player is not live. So let's go to the player and fix that final bug. So the glitch is, if we start the game, let me click the flag, let's wait for asteroid to come, we can shoot while our player isn't alive, as you can see right there from the rewinded clip. So let's change the health of the player right as we've been hit. We create another variable and call this can player shoot, and we go to OK. So now let's set this up. We say set can player shoot to true when we start game. Then we go to the flag and we'll set it to false when the flag is clicked, and at the moment this won't do anything, it will just contradict itself. So if we go to, where is the variable, and we set it to false, at the moment this doesn't do anything. We'll only use it eventually when we have main menus and levels. Then we won't want the player to be able to shoot while they're in the main menu, so that will only be useful later down the road. So let's bring this player can shoot, and we'll set it to false whilst we wait this 1 second, and then we'll set it back to true after the 1 second equals, once the 1 second has passed. But we need to go to this script where we shoot the bullet, and we can go to control and say if, we bring the equals operator and say if can player shoot equals true, then we can go ahead and shoot the bullet. So That's the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss the next part of this tutorial series. In the next part, we'll add another enemy that will shoot spikes towards our player. So make sure to stay tuned for that. See you in the next video.